Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian Farmer at Trade Group, and this is your end of day market recap for Thursday, July 25th. Risk disclaimer in front of you, or should be in front of you. Everything that I'm going through is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations. Please read the full risk disclaimer right there. So, I guess, there's probably a couple themes that I would say for today. I had it written down here earlier, lots of reversals and reversals of reversals. A lot of, well, when the market's doing what it's doing and when volatility is as high as it is, which I think is still over, the VIX is over 18, you're just going to see a lot of fake out moves and fast moves all over the place. Certain areas, such as the Qs, bounces are being sold, and the small caps continue to outperform, although they are not breaking out of their range for this week. I will go over that. One of the charts that I've talked about several times, which I just wanted to bring up with you and talk about winners and losers, of course. But this is the Qs to IWM chart where, and again, I've showed this in a few videos. I showed it on Twitter, but here's your breakout that happened in June, right? Breakout, got ahead of itself, a bit overbought, and then we slid back in. I thought that we were going to kind of hold this, and I had actually constructed a trade to go long Qs and short IWM. And as soon as this level, I think my stop was 2.17 on this. And this was in the beginning of the week. And once this didn't work, I got out of the trade very quickly, looking for a bounce, and did not get that one right. And just amazing rotation that we're seeing in this market for now. So you look at it's really odd, I think, the movements that we're seeing. But IWM was at 1.2%. The microcaps were at 1.7%, and Q's at 1.1 green in the day. I thought that they had a good chance to go green in the day. I was right. I did not say by the end of the day because I was wrong on that. Regardless, right? Because I didn't think that we would lose. I think the Qs at one point were up like 0.2, 3/10 of a percentage point, and they gave it all back. And again, it just shows you that sellers are in control. It we're not in any type of bear market, but it's kind of bear market activity where you see bounces being sold. And that's been the story now for a couple of weeks in the Qs. They are really suffering. They're now down 4.3% for the month. And remember that these things all started in the green in the beginning of the month. So that's pretty ugly looking. Look at the IBD 50 ETF too. That's down about 5.3%. Look at the difference between growth and value. So again, just a lot of differences between a big separation. So you go up and down between value versus growth versus large cap versus small cap versus a few other things too in the mix too, and you've got some major separation. And I think when you kind of look at these sectors too and say, wow, there's some things that really had a good day, and there's some things that had a pretty darn bad day as well. So let's go over a couple of these things. First off, I talked in yesterday's video about the VIX. We can bring, let's see, I don't think I have the VIX up, but again, it's just we're not there yet in terms of, yesterday I had mentioned that you had a full green candle in the VIX, and is this the right chart? And if we look at this today, I don't think that you could really come away with like a warm and fuzzy feeling about this either. This was kind of like the chart that we had. This was the see if I can zoom this in a little bit. This was, even though there's this weird candle on this for this particular day, very similar to what we had here in terms of the candle that we had today. So we did have a little bit of a kickback after that. And then, of course, then we launched higher after that. So regardless, it's not the right the way that I talked about it in the weekend video was that this candle is kind of inconclusive, and I think the same thing. We want to see something like this, right? Like the VIX tried to go higher and really backed off. This isn't exactly that, and therefore I will say that this more of an inconclusive candle. Now, the one positive thing is the VIX didn't close on the absolute highs, but again, you're dealing with much higher volatility than what we saw from May to June, July. Remember, again, I try to, I kind of give you a little bit of anecdotal information, because I heard a lot of people say for a while the VIX is broken, and that's absolutely not true. The VIX has been doing everything, is been doing exactly what it's been supposed to be doing all along. And some people read into the VIX. They're like, oh, it's the fear gauge, or it tells you about this. No, it's very simple. All the VIX does. And by the way, this is the VVIX, which is the volatility of the VIX itself, which is also kind of an inconclusive candle for the day. But all the VIX does is tell you about short-term implied volatility in the S&P, in the SPX, and that's it. It doesn't really do anything else. It just gives you short-term what options are implying in the S&P 30 days out. Right? It's not anything more than people build it up to be, and it gives you a sense of short-term volatility. And whether options are pricing in short-term volatility, and they certainly are. And from where we were, it's not extreme volatility, but it's a lot higher than what we were. So that's one of the first things when we see the VIX move up. It's one of the first things that I go over in these videos, because I don't normally dive deep into the VIX, especially when it was trading around like 13 or 14 and it goes up or down 1%. It doesn't really matter. But right now we're in a little bit of a different regime. We've seen obviously episodes of volatility come and go. I kind of think that this is what this is as well, considering like this is happening in the back end of the month, which is exactly where weakness was in terms of seasonality, where weakness was supposed to show up. Also looking at, we're in the heart of earnings season. And that's always kind of more of a difficult time. But there were some bright spots today too. And let me go over the indices, and I'll do that kind of quickly, and then we'll talk a little bit about some of these earnings reports, which again, I think is going to be somewhat important going forward. So here's where we are. This is the weekly chart of the S&P still coming in, and we're kind of, this is unfortunate, but we broke the 50-day moving average today, and the bearish 80% rule is still in effect, right? Again, if you start or move above the value area for the month, and get back in, that triggers the bearish 80% rule, and it's only good for one pass, right? If you start inside the value area and you stay inside the value area, then there's no bullish or bearish 80% rule, and vice versa. When you break into the value area from below, that triggers the bullish 80% rule. So that already played out in the Qs, which I talked about quite a bit. And we've got about another 1.4% to go to the downside before we get to that bottom of value and the 80% rule is complete. Now, again, that's the 80% rule. I want to remind you, it's not 100%. There's nothing 100% out there. So it's just a rule. And this is not a rule that I've made up. It's been back tested with value area studies, and you could Google it. What is the 80% rule with value area studies, and you'll get more of a definition than I'm giving you. Right back to this VPOC, by the way. I thought that this might kind of give us a short-term low. Well, we did bounce from it, but man, that's heavy selling that we saw at the end of the day. Let's do the Qs as well. Man, that's ugly, right? So let's do this first, right? And I talked about how once you get to the bottom of value, the bottom of the value area, it doesn't mean that you want to just start buying, right? It means you want to be paying attention to what happens there. It's an area, it's a support of interest, but it doesn't mean that price is going to stop at support. Support can be broken, which is what happened at the end of the day yesterday. Again, bounce today and just not able to fight back. And here's the volume, right? Everybody always wants volume. Geez, when the market's going up, oh, I don't like it. It's low volume, right? It's another misconception I hear all the time. The market goes up on low volume. It goes down on big volume. And there's a good example. Look at this is where distribution have. This is how it works. To the downside is when you see big volume. You never see big volume on the upside, right? And if you believe that, especially in the indices, right, volume can confirm breakouts in single names. That's fine. But what I'm talking about is the indices. The indices do not go up on big volume. If you disagree with me, please go through your charts over the last 5 years, and whenever we have trended like this, it is always on low volume. Right. I'll say that with 90% certainty. I'm sure there's some other situation where you may go back and you may find something where there was big volume on a rally, but I would say I shouldn't say 100% of the time. 90% of the time, volume happens on a there's low volume rallies. The big volume comes in when there's selling and when volatility picks up. Right. I just want to insert that because again, I always try to call out things that you hear that are so incorrect on Twitter, on X, and people just continue to say them, right? Oh, I don't like this rally. It's on low volume. It's how it always happens. And if you're not understanding that, then you need to just go back and look at a Q's chart, look at an S&P chart, 5, 10 years, and you'll kind of catch on to that. All right, let's all right, that's my one rant. I'll try to keep the rant short. Small caps can, remember, small caps finally did get hit yesterday. So they did rally back, but it's not the best looking candle, right? And look at what our levels are telling us, right? I go back and forth between the daily chart and the 1 hour chart because they give us good levels, right? This is the third time that we've gotten rejected this week on that top of value here, 222.90. And I set this chart out, sent this chart out earlier in the week when everybody's been bullish small caps. And I don't blame you for being bullish small caps because they've certainly have outperformed, but they haven't done anything basically in the last couple of days except oscillate back and forth. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not trades because, dips have buying the dip here has worked, but knowing where that short-term resistance is has come into play 3 times now this week. All right. So that's what we have. Let me talk about what I thought was kind of one of the most interesting things, even though there was other areas that still outperformed it, but ServiceNow, right? And I didn't trade this for earnings. This is a name that I usually do. I just really didn't want to buy this name on a 3% down day in the Qs yesterday, but really nice performance. And it wasn't just ServiceNow. PEGA, right? So there was three software names that did really well. PEGA was another one, right? Oops. And then I think it's Tyler Technologies is another one. I know that's not one that a lot of people follow, but man, this is a strong stock. And this also went up nicely on earnings. I mean, these are 3 really big moves that happened today in software. And don't forget, there was another name the other day that, I know everybody's focused on Google and Tesla, but there's been other names that have been acting well. This is Manhattan Associates. I did go long this name. Unfortunately, it did not close on the highs, but this is another name that had a really good earnings quarter as well. So very interesting that it's not all tech right now. Now let's talk a little bit about the semiconductors. They were down at 1.4% for the day. And they did come back, took out a VPOC, but they did not hold, I think they finished down 1.8%. So better than down 4%. That was a big move, but still, one VPOC down, there could be another one that may need to be taken out. Don't know because we're trending here below the 5-day moving average, also below the value area for the month. NVDA, I thought was interesting today. This is another one that, saw some call buying, which NVIDIA sees call buying every day, let's face it. But this is sitting here below the value area, again, in a position of weakness. Just could not get, nice rebound from the lows. Tried to kind of break higher, hit the bot. I think this is the bottom of this week's value area. All right, so here's the bounce, but again, you can't overstay your welcome right now in bounces that are occurring in not long-term downtrends, but short-term downtrends. As I just went over with the daily chart, price below the 5-period moving average and trending down right currently. So right while this is trending down, you want to be really cognizant of these bounces and not overstaying your welcome in these things. All right, so what areas that also, let's go back to the spreadsheet. This is kind of difficult because, if you look at my sector spreadsheet, which I think I have over here. By the way, here's the FANG names today. I call them the Great Eight because I include Netflix, but the only thing that went up after the close today was Tesla. Everything else, Google got hit down another 3% today. Whew. These charts are looking ugly. I had actually tried buying the dip a little bit with Apple. I had talked about that on Twitter, saying, "Hey, that this was an interesting setup." Hey, setups are setups until, but if they fail, they fail, right? And this is what I was looking at the other day in Apple, break into the 20-day moving average, and that did not hold at all. I actually tried going long a little bit, a starter position, because again, I don't like to be catching falling knives, even though there's support. But this went lower again this morning, and I just cut the position. Um, Not to say that I think Apple will come back, but it may have further to go, maybe down testing that 50-day moving average, maybe even the bottom of the value area. So you just kind of have to be patient as these names continue to descend. All right, so that's Apple. I was going to talk about sectors. Um, Energy's been tough. So energy had a strong day today. But, these things, like if you look at XOP, I believe that's still below all those. It's been one of the worst sectors in terms of, um, this sector spreadsheet that I have. Now it's got support. Now would I buy, XLE or X, this is XOP? No, it basically just held support, right? So for a trade, it worked, but here's XLE, which looks a little bit better, right? So again, kind of almost the same thing as Apple. And to some, in terms of this move down, right? And here was the bounce right on the top of the value area. So yeah, that was a nice kickoff of that. And that's not bad. I mean, I played this in here and I took this off. I played this down in here and I took this off here, and I haven't really traded XLE since, but nice support here. I looked at it yesterday, did not pull the trigger on the group, but that was one of your energy was one of your best performing groups. The home builders continue to go higher. Biotech, which was helped by VKTX today. This had a monster day today. I don't know where it closed, but certainly was. I think that's up 28%. So really nice. Here's XBI. Didn't close above that these recent highs, but back above the 5-period moving average. A couple names that I've been talking about: Berkshire, which I did establish a position today. Again, I'm still kind of, trying to position into some things that I think will do well in this market. Did not it did not close on the highs. So again, just a lot of intraday fake outs, but I still think that this is a good looking chart. It just didn't close where I wanted it to. And I did get long an energy name today. Of course, it didn't close on the highs, but I think that this was a good earnings report, and I like the chart here in FTI. Names that are moving, I'll just go through this very quickly. Names that are moving in the after hours, it's got to be the shoes. You got, I think, Deckers. Oh, look at this. MHK is up 10%. That's a flooring name. Deckers is up 8%. Very nice. Good earnings history for Deckers, by the way. And Skechers is up 2.8%. You got a couple other names in there too. Comfort Systems. That's a pretty high quality name, I've thought. Also, ONON getting a little bit of pin action from those positive reports. Also, Texas Roadhouse did well. And then you got a couple disasters here. Specifically, DXCM is down 33%. And OLN is down as well. I did go long some ISRG today, right? Again, I kind of go long some of the strong earnings names. This kicked all the way back to the top of the value area, so I'm down a little bit in this position. You'll also have the 50-day moving average kind of upsloping, and if this breaks into the value area, that could be the next stop to the downside, but I probably won't hold into that. All right, guys, that is it for the recap. Have a great night, everybody, and hang in there with this market. Some things obviously working well, other things, tech specifically, and the cues, the bounces are not holding, and you got to be quick with some of these trades, right, until they actually close strong and maybe get back above their 5-day moving average. You guys have a great night. See you tomorrow.